he's been the guy, and he's kind enough to spend some time with us. He's Darren Rovell. He joins us now on the Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. I'm talking about the business side of sports and all the financial kind of entanglements. I think the story of the week, and it's more entertainment, but it's crept into sports, has been the dismantling of the empire of Kanye West after his repeated anti-Semitic comments, right? For full disclosure, Darren's Jewish, I'm Jewish, or whatever. So I guess the thing that's most surprising was, and I know he didn't personally represent Jaylen Brown and Aaron Donald, but he had an agency that did. How far wide-reaching was Kanye West in regards to sports?
Well, he had that done to sports. It was, more of on a marketing side. Both those guys, wanted to tap into what he's done culturally. I don't think he had a significant impact, but he certainly, through who he was in culture, the Yeezys, the Adidas brand, what he did when he was at Nike. I mean, when people saw him or he was around people, he certainly garnered a whole lot of attention. And I'm not sure people understood how big of a business this was to Adidas.
How big a business was it?
So Adidas said that they were taking essentially a write-down for the fourth quarter of $246 million in net income to wind down the business and basically take it off the shelves. So people said, it's $250 million. That's $1 billion wind down in business. But here's what I need to try to explain. And it's harder to explain it in air versus writing it down. So net income is everything minus cost. So when you buy a Yeezy for $200, Adidas, the net income on a shoe that they sell for $200 is actually $20. So it costs them. They sell the shoe for $50 to a retailer. That's a $200 shoe for $50 to a retailer. The net income, what they actually make a Yeezy, is about $20. Then they sell it to the retailer. It's $50. They sell it to the retailer for $100, and then the retailer sells it to you for $200. So when they say that it's a $246 million loss in that quarter and winding it down and everything, if the actual net income of a shoe that is $200 is $20, it's actually a $2.4 billion wind down, not $246 million at retail. And that's where you really see how long it took them to do this. It's because ultimately, over time, this is a $10 billion business that they're saying we're going to let go of.
Why did he act like Adidas couldn't do this? Was it because of the amount of money generated?
Yes, because it's 10%. Because it's 10%, basically 10% of their business, and he didn't think that it was possible. Now, there are some people out there who say, this was his plan by design, because he went to Adidas, it became so big, and yet he was only getting a certain percentage of royalties, and he wants to do it himself. And I respond with, anyone who says that doesn't understand manufacturing and supply chain and company dynamics. He used to have like 300 people that work for him. He has less than 100 now. And who would work for him? And then these factories that make these shoes, yes, even in China and Vietnam and Indonesia, like they have relationships with Nike and Reebok and Under Armour and all this. Like, it's very, very difficult to conduct this whole business on your own. There's a reason Adidas is the second largest shoe and apparel company in the world. You can't just do this on your own, and especially when you're not going to have people working for you because they don't want to work for you. So I don't think he did this on purpose. I do believe he really did not think it was possible to be canceled, and he's been canceled all over. The other interesting thing, Doug, is that now you have stores that say, okay, well, we don't want to sell any Yeezy stuff, but the secondary market in both StockX and eBay, they haven't done anything, and And when you look at StockX, they have this thing that you can go to where you can sort, and you find out that 7 out of the top 8 best-selling shoes in the last 72 hours are Yeezys, which just goes to show you, yes, people are getting rid of them, but yes, people are buying them, and I think that's just the manifestation of the fractured world we live in.
I read, and I think it was from your tweet earlier today, they're going to try and keep selling the Yeezys only without the name on it?
No, that was not me.
Who owns the intellectual property over the shoes?
It's mixed. There was a Bloomberg article this morning about it. I think there's going to be a showdown over this, so I don't think it is clear. But I do not believe they will sell Yeezys. I mean, Yeezys, what are you just going to change the name of it? I don't believe they can do that. But they are. This is a huge financial hole that you can argue is irreplaceable. This is not some dude is retiring, he's an NBA player, and you're going to have to find the next prospect. I mean, I'm not in the market, but the shoes that he put out, the slides and everything else, you could at least say for one thing that they were unique and different and totally separate from anything else out there.
What do you think happens to those shoes?
If eBay and StockX and the secondary market is going to continue to let them, I think there will be, it's a manifestation of our fractured world. There will be some people who now want to support him, and there will be some people that now want to get rid of him and want nothing to do with him. I don't think they'll disappear off the face of the earth. I don't think they're going to make a bonfire out of it. I think that they'll be around. But I would predict that for those people who think that Kanye is going to resurface with a new shoe and a new brand and do it in the mass that he did it with Adidas, there is no chance that's happening anytime soon. In this culture, the question becomes, if you are canceled, how recoverable are you?
Yes,
and it's hard to say. Yeah, and it's hard to say because we're in the moment right now, right? Like we're in the moment right now, and obviously there's a recency bias, but like it seems like he's tracking along the lines of Will Smith. Like it seems like Will Smith is not, even if it was one night, it was one moment, and it seems like he has. It's not. He didn't say one thing. He went over and over and over again, and I think that makes him more permanently canceled than others potentially. But again, recency bias makes it hard.
That's amazing. It's really. I mean, I don't. You saying the numbers and with the B, I think it should change people's perspective and understanding of just how big a story this
well,
actually.
that's why everyone's like, oh, Adidas, they have German heritage, they have Nazi heritage, and it's like, well, to be fair, and I'm Jewish, and I thought what obviously what he said was morally reprehensible, right? Like, to be fair, like when you think about the decision in shoes, there's only one brand that's bigger, and that's the Jordan brand. So when you think about what they had to do and the conversations they had to have, this was a ridiculously big decision. And at the end of the day,
they had. I mean, regardless of everything else, because of the perception of it being German and their ties to Germany.
Yes.
They had to.
That definitely made it different than other situations. Plus, it made it different from a Kobe Bryant sexual assault case, or Tiger hurting his own family through extramarital affair, or it ran much deeper. It ran much deeper. And the other thing that made it easy was, now I think Kanye would sue, but when you think about morals clauses, on the simplest morals clause in an endorsement contract, the simplest, he's violated all of it. There's always like, when you sever a guy's deal, how good is the morals clause? Remember in I can't remember the
or
exact
force
year.
majeure clauses as well, right? I mean, there's all kinds of different things.
Yeah, I remember in '97, Sean Kemp said that he had to admit that as a Reebok spokesman that Nike made the best shoes, and they canceled them. They severed the contract. Sean Kemp came in and said that is not what a morals clause is. Like, did I damage the company by saying that? And I said, no. As a kid, I love the Jordans. They're still my favorite shoes, or whatever. And he got his money back. And often it winds up in the court. How close it is to the line. I guarantee you, because of what Kanye said in the past, they had not only the simple morals clauses, but they had much deeper ones. And this crosses all of them. So at least I feel like there's probably not anything more than winding down the shoe that they would owe Kanye.
What this is, and I know you weren't prepared for this question, so forgive me if that's the case. The NIL is really interesting, right? But you can't wear a different shoe than your school is sponsored by.
On the field, on the court, yes.
On the field, on the court, and every piece of your gear, obviously.
That will be tested.
That's my I think there's, and I don't like to have double headers, but who's gonna be the first to test it? And maybe the opposite side of it is, will we see any current student athletes be on commercials for Nike, for example, for Adidas?
Well, it's interesting. Obviously, they did the deal with Bronny. I mean, and it always has gone, as you know, in college basketball circles. You line up with, the coach who has the deal, and sometimes you wind up at Louisville or somewhere else because that person who gets to that person is an AAU coach who has Adidas and whatever it is, right? That's happened for a long time. But I do think there will be a test where someone will try to. And yesterday the NCAA said, we're not going after the eligibility of the kids. We're going after the eligibility of the schools. And this is a completely muddy water, right? Like to say, are the sponsorships of the deals, when you sign a letter of intent, is there anything really in there that overtly says you must go along with all the school sponsorships? And I think it will be tested. There is a lot of gray area in NIL, and I expect something like that to happen.
We appreciate you. Thanks for joining me.
You got it.
All right, Darren Rovell at a bake sale somewhere in New York City. The Breeders' Cup World Championships are coming to Keeneland this November 4th and 5th. Your score is calling. Watch and wager on 14 World Championship races with full international fields and even bigger payouts. Learn more at breederscup.com/2022. Place your bets now at tvg.com. I don't own a pair of Yeezys. They are weird-looking shoes, supposedly like that, and the slides really comfortable. I don't know. Those are the kind of shoes that when I see people wear them, I think two letters that sound like defensive back, only it's not defensive back, right? That's my take. But they're obviously a crazy popular shoe, and right now it's almost like remember when Prince died? Everybody gobbled up Prince albums. Like feels like people are buying up these shoes. But if I see you walk in with some Balenciagas or some Yeezys, like I've already kind of made a note in my head, like I don't know. You have any of those, Jay Stu? No, that's a no, right? Like, do you know?
Yeah, that's not my thing. Remember, I just got into the Air Jordan space, and then my barber criticized them. He's like, hey, man, unless Jordan actually wore the shoes, then you shouldn't buy them. Because I guess I got some of the new version Jordans, and he didn't wear them when he played. Yeah, I sent them to you. I forget what they're called, but I guess they're on the newer side, so we didn't technically wear them. Is that a thing? Are you put off by that as well? You need some vintage Jordans? I
have vintage Jordans. I have 4 or 5 pairs of vintage Jordans. I like them a great deal. I have them. I don't have them. I'm not a reseller. Right? I think they're kind of cool. They're a tip of the cap to my youth. They actually have some that have the newer soles or lighter soles that feel a lot better. Some of them can be fairly uncomfortable, but I do like the new. I love the Jordan. Nike, by the way, is brilliant for that stuff because between the Air Force Ones, the Dunks, and the Jordans, and their immense popularity, but they didn't need to do. There's no research having to be done. They don't have to create new molds. All that cost is already taken care of. They just new colors, whatever. They're making so much money on the Dunks and the old Jordans coming out. It's crazy. Crazy.